loved my job and my colleagues, and I also quite liked being the boss. But I knew that if I wanted to work on a national paper, this was my chance. A newspaper, my new boss told me, was like a medieval fiefdom. At first, I didn't understand what he meant. In the arts world, bosses pretended to be interested in getting the views of their staff. In the arts world, you got sent on courses on diversity and talked about things like continuing professional development. I once even got sent on a course to learn the Alexander technique. I thought it was very nice of the taxpayer to let me lie with my head on a cushion, allowing my neck to be free. Newspapers were not like this. On a newspaper, or at least on my newspaper, no one cared about your continuing professional development. You didn't get training for anything except IT. There was only really one item on your job description: do whatever the hell your boss says. On the books desk, we would sweat over each semicolon and piece together the pages as if they were the fragments of a Ming vase. At 5 o'clock on press day, the deputy editor would stroll down to look at the proofs. He would glance at the pages, grab his pen from his pocket, and slice it through the air as if it was a machete hovering over a neck. When he handed the proofs back, we would gaze at the marks like gashes on the page and wonder how to salvage something from the wreck. My boss said it was just willy-waving, but dealing with willies seemed to be quite a big part of the job. When I moved upstairs to be an editor on the comment desk, I learnt more about stress. It started with the tension in the faces of the section editors as they tried to put together their morning list. A list on a newspaper isn't like a list you write on a notepad, where you might or might not tick some of the items off. A list on a newspaper is a miracle you have snatched out of air. You have got up, you have listened to the Today programme, you have read or at least flicked through all the papers and tried to grasp the latest developments on quantitative easing in the Eurozone and the Nigerian government's shift in policy on Boko Haram. You have strained every neuron in your brain to put together a list of ideas that will make editors on other papers feel sick that they didn't come up with them first. But when you see the editor's PA opening the door to his office, you know that there is only one view that counts. A conference, according to the dictionary, is a formal interchange of views. Perhaps in some places it is. In conference on a newspaper, not a conference because there's no time to mess around with indefinite articles, the interchange of views is just one way. The editor asks you to read your list and then stares at you as if you had just projectile vomited onto his new Damien Hirst. If he's in a good mood, he might nod. If he's in a bad mood, and editors are in bad moods quite a lot, he will pick out something on your list and repeat the words back to you, as if you had just suggested a front-page story on Jane Austen's use of the quadrille. He will then ask you about a tiny news item on page 36 of the one paper you didn't get a chance to skim. It's hard to explain why we all love it, but we do. Perhaps we all like to think we really are in a war. The relief that it wasn't you in the firing line, or that it was you, but that the bullet somehow missed your heart, sends some chemical flooding through your veins. It makes you want to climb up on your desk, raise your arms as high as you can get them, and bellow that you're still here, you are actually still alive. After that, all you have to fear is the later prowl round the office. That and the ticking clock. If you're editing, you get on the phone. You talk, you wait, you hone, you chop. If you're writing, you do as much Googling as you can squeeze into the minutes before you have to get that first mark on that blank page. At the start of the day, there is nothing. At the end of the day, there are 100 pages of what you hope is sparkling copy. This happens every day, and it makes you feel as if you are, or are working with, God. When I was asked to write a regular column, I felt like singing an aria. When I was told I could drop the editing and write full-time, I felt like singing the Hallelujah chorus. As well as my column, which I now did twice a week, I did a weekly interview. I had been interviewing writers for years. Jeanette Winterson had given me the number of her psychic. Jacqueline Wilson had told me that she sometimes only just managed to get her knickers on when people asked for her autograph at the gym. Philip Pullman had talked about a satire he had written on journalism called I Was a Rat. He seemed to think that being a journalist was something that should make you feel ashamed. I wanted to tell him that nothing in my life had ever made me feel as proud.